This video is on measures of central tendency. There are three most common measures of central tendency, and these are the mean, median and mode, which you will have heard about before. The table here just has lots of information on all three of them. I'm not going to read through it because you can just pause the video and read that for yourself. The bottom of the mean one, you've just got the mean formula there. So the X with the line above it stands for the mean. Then we have equals the sigma symbol, which stands for the sum of. So the sum of all the X values divided by how many numbers we have in the data set. Just got a couple of examples here, and we'll be chopping and changing between this screen and the calculator so we can see how we can do things on our GDCs. First example, the grades in a history test for 14 students were as follows: 58, 67, 66, etc. Firstly, we're going to find the mode, median and the mean. Now I'm going to show you how to do this by hand and then on the calculator. Ultimately, if you are in the IB AISL program, then you can just do this straight on your calculator, but it is always a good idea to know how to do it by hand too. If we were doing it by hand, the first thing we need to do is put the numbers in order from smallest to largest, so I'm just going to do that now. There's all our numbers in order, smallest to largest. Now to find the mode is the most common number. So all we need to do here is look at all the data, which number appears the most, and we will see that that is 58, as that appears 3 times. For the median, we need to look for the middle number. The median is the middle of the data set. Now, in this case, we can very easily just work out where the middle is. If you have a larger data set, what you do is you take how many numbers there are in the data set, which is 14, add 1 to it, and then divide by 2. And that tells you the position of the median. So in this case, it will be in the position of 7.5. So what we do then is we just count from the ends and we count to 7.5. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 is 67. Now because we want the 7.5 position, it means we want the middle of these two numbers. If the median was the 7th position, it would just be directly 66. If it was the 8th, it would be 67. But we want the 7.5, which means we need to find the middle of those two numbers. So we want halfway between 66 and 67, which will give us a median of 66.5. Now for our mean, our formula for our mean, we just have above there. I'll just scroll down a little bit. So it's the sum of all the X values. So it's the sum of all the X values divided by how many data points we have. Now, if we add all those numbers up, we actually get 924 divided by 14, because we have 14 numbers in our data set. Calculate that and we get an answer of 66. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over to the calculator page and I'm going to show you how you can do this in the calculator on the TI Nspire. So on our calculator, when we're on the home page, we are going to go to the spreadsheet option, which is the green square down the bottom with a spreadsheet in it. If you click that, it takes us to the spreadsheet. Now in here, we need to add in all our data. Now it doesn't matter if it's in order from smallest to largest or just as the question gave it to us, but we need to enter all our numbers. So we'll have 58, 67, 66, 58 and so on. So we'll just put in all the numbers from the data set in the first column. Now I've got all the numbers in the spreadsheet. What I want you to do on your calculator is you go to menu, we're going to go to statistics and then number 1 stat calculations. Now we just go to the first one here, one variable statistics, because we only have one variable. Click OK, we've only got one list. Now in this section here, this first part X1 list is us telling the calculator where the data is. As you can see there, it's got an A and then square brackets. So to tell the calculator that it's a column, you need to put the letter name of the column, which is the first column is A, then the square brackets. The square brackets is kind of the identifier that it is column A from the spreadsheet. We don't have any other information here. Down the bottom, just check your results column. Here we've got the results to go to column B, which is fine. You just want to make sure that that's not overriding any data that you've got elsewhere. Then click OK, and our data appears. Now the first bit of information in our data is the mean. You see you've got the X with a line above it on this side here, the title. So our mean is 66, which matches what we found before when we did it by hand. The next one down is the sum of all our x values. We calculated that as 924, but once again, if you have access to a calculator, this will tell you all that information. Now, if we scroll down a bit further, we will then see our n, which is how many data points we have, which is 14, which is correct. And then we can find our median, and that one is right here. So our median is 66.5. Once again, that is what we found when we did it by hand. This part of the statistics does not tell you what the mode is. The mode is one thing that you have to do yourself by just looking for the most common number. Okay, let's go back and do part B. Now for part B, we told just before that when a 15th student took the test, the mean became 66.2. And now we want to work out what the grade for the 15th student would be for us to name our mean to become 66.2. What we're going to do first is write down all the information we know. So we know that our mean, we want it to be 66.2. We know our n, how many data points we've got, will now be 15 because we're adding one more. And we are wanting to find out what that value of the 15th student is, and let's just call maybe that variable y. That's what we're trying to find out. So when we do all this together, put it into our mean formula and we'll have 66.2 equals, we want the sum of all our values. Now we already know the sum of the first 14 values is 924 from the last part, from part A, but we've got one more value that we're wanting to try and find, and that's our y, and that will tell us our full sum. Then we want to divide that by how many data points we've got, which is 15. And then from there, you can just go and solve that on your calculator, and we will find that this y value equals 69. So the 15th student will need to get a score of 69 for the mean to become 66.2. Okay, next question. Next part. Mindy opens some bags of candy and counts how many pieces are in each bag. Her results are, and we've got a beautiful frequency table there. Find the mean number of candies in the bag. Once again, I'm going to do this by hand and then show you how to do it on the calculator. So if we're doing it by hand, what we have to remember here for our mean is we want the sum of all the values. Now, it is not just these values added together because we have a frequency. So this frequency here for 2 next to the 23 means we have 2 23s in our data set. 3 here next to the 24 means we have 3 24s in our data set. So you could write that all out and get to an answer, but that's not going to work for this. It's going to take too long, especially when you get up to, say, 100, 200 sets of data. All we need to do in our equation here, though, to find out the mean is we have 2 23s. So we can do 2 times 23. Add that to how many 24s have we got? 3, so it would be 3 times 24. And so on. So we can do that for each value. And that will incorporate all the values to calculate the sum of all the data. Now we want to know how many data sets we've got, so all we need to do that is add up our frequencies. And if we add those up, we get a value of 20 data points. Put that into your calculator and we get a mean of 25. But now I'm going to go back over to the calculator and show you how you can do that on there. So on here, we're going to go back to a spreadsheet and we're going to put our frequency table in as we see it. So we've got in our first column 23, 24, 25, 26 and 27. And then our second column is going to be our frequencies, which were 2, 3, 9, 5 and 1. Once we've done that, we're going to go back to our menu, statistics, stat calculations. Now here we're still going to go to one variable. Even though we've got 2 columns, we still only have one lot of data, which is our number of pieces of candy. The frequency isn't a variable, it's just telling us how many of each bit of data we've got. So it's still only one variable. This is where things are going to change. So you can see here right now it's saying our X1 list is in column B, but our data, the values of our data is actually in column A. So we want to make sure that says A. Do we have a frequency list? Yes, we do. That is in column B. So we want to type our B, and to get our square brackets, press the Control button, open brackets, and you will get the square brackets in place. And then this is where we really want to make sure that our result column is not A or B. Here I've got C, so we're not going to overwrite any data, and press OK. And then you can see our mean is our first one, and you can see there that our mean is 25, which is what we found out before. Okay, next example. For the following frequency table, estimate the mean, median, and find the modal class. Now we're going to start with the modal class with this one because that's the easiest and one we can do just by looking. Modal class, just like the mode, it is the most common. Here we want to look for what is the most common class. Our classes are these ones at the top here. And we've got the frequency, so which one has the biggest frequency? And we can see it is the last one, between 10 and 20. Therefore, our modal class will be between the 10 and 20. Now for the mean and median, this is where we're going to do it slightly differently. And you'll notice here that it says estimate the mean and median. We can't find the exact mean or median because, say for this one here, we've got 15 in the range of 0 to 4, but we don't know where those 15 are. Those 15 could all be zeros or they could all be 4s. That would change what our actual mean would be, which is why we're going to be estimating because we're not sure exactly what the data is. Now, on our calculator to find the mean, we can't put in class intervals. That's not going to work. We need to put in a value. So we've got to decide which value between 0 and 4 we're going to put into the calculator. And what we do, and this is always the same when we do this, I'll create just a quick little table. And when we find our things, what we are always going to do is our mid value, so the middle value of our class interval. So here the class interval is between 0 and 4, so the middle of that is 2. The next one, our 4 to 10. So in the middle of 4 to 10, and you work that out and you'll get 7. If you're not sure how to work that out and you can't see it straight away easily, all you need to do is add the starting and the ending point of the interval. So we'll add 4 and 10 together, divide that by 2, and that will give you the middle of those two numbers. And then the last interval we have is between 10 and 20, and the middle of those is 15. Now the second column of our little table here is just our frequencies as they are in the question. So the first class interval has a frequency of 15, the next one 35, and the last class has a frequency of 15. So the frequencies stay the same, and you just choose the middle value of your class interval for our calculator. Now, let's go over to the calculator and do this in there, and we do it exactly the same as we did the last example. So back into a spreadsheet and just put this smaller table in this time, so we'll have 2, 7 and 15. So we put in our mid values, and then we put in our frequencies, and we do the exact same process of finding our stats. So menu, statistics, stat calculations, one variable, making sure we put in A for our first one because that's where the data values are. Our frequencies are in column B and our results in column C. Press OK. And we want to estimate the mean and median. So our mean's the top one there, 10.25. And if we scroll down to find the median, our median is 11. So we can write that in as our solutions. So here we found that the mean was equal to 10.25 and the median was 11, straight from the calculator. And that is measures of central tendency.